you're all here. We will have our Bible study now and talk about the nature of personal reality. And why don't we start with an opening prayer? Do you mind, Carol?
No, I don't mind. Oh, thank you, Lord, for this wonderful day and for the opportunity of us all gathering together and learning information that will help not only in our lives, but the lives of those around us. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Okay. If you didn't do the assignment, that's fine. What we are learning here is how to form our own lives, okay? So the choices we make, even not doing the assignments, is all part of it. And it's all a learning experience, so it's okay. See, either choice will help you learn. Does that make sense to anybody? Okay. Now what I wanted you to do was to write down, well, does anybody remember the assignment?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, somebody just in one sentence say what it is. Go ahead.
Remember personal beliefs about myself.
Remember personal beliefs about myself. Okay, the reason I left it a little bit vague is because I wanted you to run into some difficulty, okay, in doing the assignment. Now that's what teachers are like, okay. They're usually a few steps ahead of the students because they've experienced some of the previous problems, and a teacher is meant to supervise or guide the student through some of the difficulties of learning. But again, the whole point is to allow the student to learn how to learn. So in the process of learning about personal beliefs about yourself, then you have to come up with what are the methods, okay? Now I can quickly tell you the methods, all right? Or if anybody discovered a method, speak it out loud and we can talk about it.
A method of listing a personal belief about myself?
Right. How did you go about figuring that out? Anyway, you don't have to answer.
Oh, okay.
How did we go about figuring out our personal belief about ourselves?
Right.
And you don't want us to answer?
No, if somebody knows, then
I know.
Okay, and do you know? And what about
I know.
Well, see, that's excellent. Okay. There's two ways, all right? So we'll see whether these fall into that pattern or not. Okay. All right, starting with you, Josh, what did you do?
You have to dig deeper. You go beyond what you think, and then you gotta keep going down deeper, layer after layer.
So you used your conscious mind to think, and using that, what are you telling me? You sat still on your bed, or when?
I sat still on my bed and thought about it.
Okay. Yes, that's one method. All right. Okay. So if that's one method, we can pretty much guess what the other method is, right? Life is composed of two different things, right? And it is mind and what? Body. So if he used his mind to figure out his beliefs, then what's the other method? Using your body. Okay, your body directly experiences reality and feels what? Emotions, is it right? Yes, emotions. There's four basic emotions, and then under those emotions fall not only a multitude of feelings, but remember, feelings have a different aspect that can connect us to a lot deeper layers of reality. Okay? So we can call them feelings, but they include intuitions and the psychic ability, which is connected to the spiritual aspect. Are you following me here? I'm trying to keep it simple. All right. You have a question?
Well, can I mention how I did mine?
Yes.
For mine, I did a little bit different.
Right.
In that I thought about what crosses my mind about myself the most frequent.
Right.
And that's how I came up with mine.
Again, using your mind to think.
Right, but
Right.
I didn't dig deeper or anything. I just kind of thought of things that crossed my mind about myself most often.
Right. And what happens is you pay attention to your thoughts, okay? And it is essential that you understand that the thoughts that you have every few seconds about yourself are planning out your future. Okay? They will materialize. So it's good to become aware of how you're thinking about yourself and what's going on around you. And then if you want to change your condition because you're not happy with your present circumstances, then you change what you think. Right? However, the reason that we're talking about beliefs is because beliefs are at the top of the pinnacle of all of this. It's beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and feelings. All right? So we need to know what our beliefs are because they are the ones that actually are creating our thoughts. They're usually more quiet, hidden, not expressed very often, and sometimes they're accepted basically from your parents until you reevaluate them and choose what you want to believe yourself, or from your peers, or from other forms of information that you get. Depending on how much you evaluate your own thinking will tell you how much in your mind is your own choice or how much you are accepting basically being directed by other, shall we say, people around you. Therefore, today's lesson is going to be to understand that it goes from beliefs, and then under that is thoughts, and then under that is emotions and feelings, okay? Now feelings is a little bit separate because it offshoots and connects into other realities, basically. And what we're trying to do is to open the door to not just physical reality, but our inner reality. You know how I have us lay down a few times a week and fall asleep and try to remember what we're dreaming, okay? That's a simple way to go to an inner reality, right? What's going on is this dreaming that we do goes on all the time. Our inner self is constantly doing that. All you happen to do is tap into it once in a while when you fall asleep. But this is going on all the time in creating our body, right? You follow me so far? Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, but you are not doing all this. Right? And for us to think otherwise is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, we don't even know that we're breathing. We don't even pay attention to breathing, much less the millions of cells that are being born and died and created and all of the exchanges that are going on every instant in our body. We cannot keep track of it. We aren't doing this. And if you want to just say that it's some sort of automatic response, that's your choice. However, what really is going on is this is being led by a deeper, more powerful inner self that is creating us. All right? The very fascinating thing about it is it doesn't stop at the end of our skin. It doesn't stop right here. It extends to the entire environment that you see. And by our beliefs, thoughts, and emotions and feelings, we are affecting every event and every object around us. We're interacting and creating all this. I mean, if you think about it, look at what's happened in the last year. This entire living room has slowly been transformed based on beliefs and thoughts that we've agreed to, and then we performed actions, and this is what's occurred. And that's just a simple example. However, your entire life is made up of this every moment.
Can I ask you a question? Alright, you said beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and feelings. Where do actions fall?
then the actions are what actually create the emotions. So the actions would be in between the thoughts and the emotions. And I'll tell you a little secret. Watch this, okay? See how I extend out? I interact with you and you and you. This process of electromagnetic exchange is what creates emotions. That's how it works. The emotions then affect our body, and we feel our body changes. There's 4 major emotions. Does anybody remember them? Okay.
Wait.
That could be joy, but love is a
Joy.
little bit different. Joy, yeah.
Anger, sadness,
Anger, sadness,
fear.
fear. Right. Those are the 4 major emotions. Now scientists are actually spending a lot of time starting to look at this more closely, and they're coming up with a little bit different set of emotions. My thought is, that's fine if they want to do that. Let's just keep it simple for us, because we really need to learn this material. Okay? We don't want to wait for science to catch up. So we're going to use basically fear, anger, sadness, and joy in order to direct our lives. We're going to learn how to look at our beliefs and alter them so that we have better thoughts, creating better actions, and then the emotions that follow will be more closely attuned to what we personally are choosing. Okay. All of that, again, brings us back to beliefs. We have to try to understand what our beliefs are, and to at least be able to know that either I'm happy with my life, okay, and I'm not really worried about going in deep into this now, or there are things I want to change, and I want to go ahead and understand this in case it comes up where either I need to change or I need to help somebody else around me change. And I guarantee you will be sought out and asked for advice at various times in your life. And if you tell them any other way to fix it, you're going to be misdirecting them. I'm telling you, this is the way it works. So you want to understand how to help people. To give people advice and not really help them really fix their problems may seem like a good idea, but you aren't really going to be helping them fix their problems. Does that make sense? Right. So today's lesson, the main thing we need to learn is what's called the hierarchy. What will we call this? This is an extension of personal beliefs about myself. So what I want is for us to, in our minds, be able to know how beliefs create reality. So that's what we'll label this. The very top title, you know, in capitals and underlined, is How Beliefs Create Reality. You guys got it?
Yes.
One of the fascinating things about this is that when you read the book, it is so loaded with information that even just one sentence or one paragraph is enough to just sort of sit there and think about. This book, when I read it for the first time, The Nature of Personal Reality, and you know, I can read pretty fast, right? I mean, you understand all that? It took me a year because there was no sense in rushing through it, because I had to stop and understand what I was reading. I guarantee you, even though we're on chapter 2, we could go back and find things that were just in the back few pages that now we have a better understanding of. And this is why this book can be reread over and over, because every time that you grow with your understanding, then you can see that even though the information is written with the same words, it has a more deeper meaning, and you're able to understand it better. Alright, again, we'll keep this simple, so we're going to use more of a sort of graphic representation. And at the top, we'll write beliefs, capitals, and in a box. Okay. And this is what basically is at the core of our center, but do understand this is a, shall we say, a way of understanding our conscious mind. I am not saying what is at the core of our real physical self is beliefs. It is energy. Okay. Even though ideas are directing all of this energy, it basically, we could function at a very basic level even if our ego basically was not functioning. Our body would still be here. Wouldn't be doing a whole lot, you know. I'd be sitting there drooling or something, but I mean, we would still exist. It's our conscious mind that causes us to act, and basically it's important then to understand how this works. Underneath beliefs, then, in a box by itself, then, is thoughts directly. So one line comes down, creates another box, and we put thoughts in there. The reason I'm spending so much time on this is so that you don't get confused. So beliefs goes, and then thoughts are under it. And then coming off of thoughts, and this will be two at angles. One will be a box that you put in emotions, okay, and another one will be a box that you put in feelings, okay. So if we've been paying attention, you should have a question as to why the box that is feelings doesn't come directly under emotions. What is the reason?
Because feelings come from thoughts, not from emotions.
Okay, that's one answer. Feelings can come from emotions too, so you have to draw a line between the box of emotions and feelings also, okay? And now you're seeing then that there is a little bit more, shall we say, complication, right? There has to be a doorway from both ends, a front door and a back door. Okay. The front door for our spirit, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, the inner self, can come in through our beliefs right here. Okay, so we'll just make a little arrow and we won't even say really what is in the upper box, although it looks like how beliefs create reality. The other door that we can get some very important insight into is feelings. So even though we have feelings, you want to draw an arrow pointing and coming up into feelings, okay? And the reason I'm showing you this is with our body, we can get, shall we say, messages, okay, that come in, and then we recognize them, or just directly, a form of direct knowing can go right into our conscious mind. There's two ways. And the reason is, if you think about it, it's just some sort of constant energy circular exchange. If you look at matter, it just keeps turning into more and more energy with space, and what we perceive as really solid is more of a magnetic type of repulsion than anything. Does everybody understand that in the basic terms? Okay. Alright, now let's open our book and take a look at where we were. I think we're going to skip over some of these because we read all the way through some of the basic, shall we say, limiting false beliefs. Yes, your mom wasn't very happy with it. And we'll look at some of our own beliefs, okay? But I want to read a little bit before we get going on, okay? We'll start under the next section. Let's see. Well, I don't know that we need to go that far. Right at the end, behind his last little bit of beliefs he was listing, is where we're looking at. I don't know what page.
Is it chapter 2?
Chapter 2 for sure, yeah. We'll pretty much start with the session 615.
We were on the life is a valley of sorrows, the body is inferior.
I understand.
Now what page is
We are going to move forward so that we can list our own beliefs and then work with those. Session 615, whatever page that
Okay.
is. Okay.
It's Matt's birthday.
My birthday.
Cool, September 18th. This occurred back in 1972 when Jane went into a trance. This personality named Seth came through and spoke, and then her husband wrote down each word. And these are the words that were written down. What's interesting is this book was done first draft, and Jane herself didn't even know anything about the book. She had to go back and read it. That's the only way she knew what she
Is
had
it
said.
kind of like last night with the thing going into, like, did she know that it was happening to her?
She knew it was happening, but once she's into the trance, she doesn't know the words that she's saying.
Okay.
All right. Starting with your conscious beliefs direct the functioning of your body. It is not the other way around. Okay.
We're at the end of the
No,
session?
the beginning of session 615. I skipped the notes and now dictation. Good evening.
Good evening.
And it says your conscious beliefs direct the functioning of your body. It is not the other way around.
So it's your conscious beliefs, not your subconscious beliefs.
As far as the director, remember a director is a little bit different than all the people that might create a movie. And it's the same thing here with your body. The inner self is basically doing all the work and creating the body. However, we get to be the director. All right? This is actually a miracle. This is all set up for a very specific reason. This information is basic and needs to be taught to everybody so that we know what's going on. We're here for a reason to learn how to direct ourselves, and then we get to see the results. That's the whole purpose. And yes, people can sort of learn backwards, sort of through trial and error. However, this information needs to basically be taught so that there isn't some misunderstanding of what's going on. Your inner self adopts the physically conscious, physically focused mind as a method of allowing it to manipulate in the world that you know. Now that has to occur because the inner self exists in other dimensions, okay? In this physical reality, we have to be born, we have to grow from a fetus to a baby, to a boy, to an adult. And the conscious mind is what the inner self has to use in order to function in this reality. Are you following me here? Okay. The conscious mind is particularly equipped to direct outward activity, to handle waking experience and oversee physical work. Its beliefs about the nature of reality are then given to inner portions of the self. These rely mainly upon the conscious mind's interpretation of temporal reality. The conscious mind sets the goals, and the inner self brings them about, using all its facilities and inexhaustible energy. So this is sort of the key to this whole thing right here. So I make a little bit of a bracket right here. See, when I read, I mark books, okay? Because I need to go back and study them and learn them. Out of all of what we just read, the sentence, the conscious mind sets the goals and the inner self brings them about using all its facilities and inexhaustible energy is the key. So let me ask you, and this is what we're going to have to connect. If the conscious mind sets the goals, where do beliefs come in?
Beliefs create reality.
Okay. How are they related to setting goals?
Well, in my opinion, you'll set your goals based on what your beliefs are.
Okay. So the beliefs are the ones that help you set your goals. Therefore, you want to examine your beliefs and know pretty much who you are. One of the commands that was given in the Bible, basically by Jesus to his followers, was know thyself. Okay? And if I'm not mistaken, what is the second commandment? It's going to be sad because we don't. But I believe it's love your neighbor as you yourself, right? Something along those lines. There is an exact wording to it, okay?
No taxation without representation.
No, it's not that one. It's love your neighbor as you love yourself, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Does anybody know for sure? Well, anyway, we can look it up, but that's the one I want to focus on. So, to love your neighbor as you love yourself, you have to know yourself. As you begin to know the miracle that's occurring, as you are creating reality, you begin to understand your neighbor better. And you begin to develop a love for your neighbor.
Can I mention something?
Yes.
All right. My beliefs set my goals. Okay. And so therefore, I can also use that. I guess that's why they say actions speak louder than words, because by observing someone's actions or interactions with other people, you can basically determine what their beliefs are.
You can get closer.
Right, because the beliefs determine that person's actions.
Unless they're pretending or faking it to misdirect.
Right, but actions, I mean, yeah.
Some people put on a mask,
Right.
and a lot of times the very surface interactions we have with people is the mask. To get to know the deeper self, it would be correct, the one you're talking about.
That's why I'm careful whenever I just judge a person by their actions, because if I don't really know them, then I could be mistaken as they're acting like that for one reason, but they're not really.
That's true. The more you know about what's going on, the easier it is to maybe understand it and go from there. Alrighty. Well, if the conscious mind sets the goals and the inner self brings them about using all its facilities and inexhaustible energy, there is something about that sentence that is very important that we have to focus on. There's one word that is very important.
Inexhaustible.
Yes. That is so important. And the reason is this. We have as much energy as we need forever in all realities for anything we need. We have the power all the time available. Now, if it turns out that we, for some reason, don't accomplish our task for various reasons, it's because of our beliefs that are limiting our use of the inexhaustible energy that's available to us. Does that make sense? Are you following me? And that's the whole point of why we want to understand our beliefs. Our beliefs are setting the goals, they're also setting the limits, they're setting the boundaries. Okay. We need to write this sentence down because this is the one that directs what we've written up here. So in a big box down underneath, we need to fit in how many words? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 words, okay? And we will make it into a smaller statement later here, as we usually do, because we don't want to have to remember 20 words, do we? But we need to write them down first because this is going to be an important sentence that will direct the rest of our lives, actually. I'm going to just outline a little bit in the next few minutes. We're going to take this sentence and make it simpler, okay? And basically that will be the end of the lesson. However, we will continue on for next week in order to begin to understand our own personal beliefs, and it will give us another week to start writing down some of them. And we might spend a few minutes understanding the difference between beliefs and thoughts, okay, and feelings and emotions, because all of those can lead to beliefs. However, it's important to understand sort of what a belief is, you know, in terms of words and how you write it down. Okay. Before that, though, I am very curious. How did you know that inexhaustible was the important word out of this?
Probably because it's the most out there word. Everything else seems pretty normal and inexhaustible. Just kind of stood out to me because it's unlimited.
Exactly. That's it. This word unlimits. You see? If you have the word forever, or always, or continuous, or inexhaustible, some of these words are ways to free our mind. Okay? He's already mentioned that if you recognize that you're tired, how to not focus on that, but give yourself positive suggestions in order to stay more alert to accomplish whatever tasks you need to before you need to rest. Okay? What most people end up thinking going through life, though, is that there is only a certain amount of energy available to us. And they don't go around believing, did you get that word?
Believing.
That we have inexhaustible energy available to us. And the reason I sort of said it that way was because you have to look at some of your own beliefs in order to find out whether you believe that you have inexhaustible energy available or not. You see what I'm saying? So to get down to beliefs, you do have to dig down a little bit. Thoughts are on the surface. They can lead you to your beliefs if you spend a little time at it, but thoughts are not beliefs. Therefore, now we're going to first winnow this sentence down to some of our few key words so that we can remember it more easily. Okay, what is it?
Inner self brings goals about with inexhaustible energy. That narrows it down to 8 words from 20.
Inner self brings goals about with inexhaustible energy. That sounds fine to me. What do you guys think?
Let me think for a moment.
Inner self fulfills goals. I can make it 7 words.
Alright, just a minute.
I like fulfills even better.
Well, how about conscious mind directs inner self with inexhaustible energy.
Conscious mind directs inner self
With inexhaustible energy.
well, that's the confusing part. You have to change that. The conscious mind directs inner self is correct, but it doesn't direct it with inexhaustible energy. The inner self uses inexhaustible energy to bring about the goals that the conscious mind sets.
Okay.
And I will say we don't have to repeat conscious and mind. I think we would know mind in itself would be good enough.
The mind directs the inner self's inexhaustible energy.
Okay. The mind directs the inner self's inexhaustible energy. That is correct. Okay. First, though, I want to write down yours, Josh, and then we can work with both of them. So what was yours, Josh?
Inner self brings goals of...
Well, the fulfills one.
Oh, inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible energy.
Okay, and what is yours, honey? The mind directs the inner self.
The mind directs the inner self's inexhaustible energy.
Somehow we gotta combine these two sentences. Because in important part out of Carol's is that the mind directs. Mind directs the inner self.
Mentally directed, the inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible energy.
Or, can I say one? Okay. The mind directs inner inexhaustible energy.
The mind channels
To
inexhaustible
fulfill
energy
goals.
to fulfill goals.
The mind fulfills goals with inexhaustible energy.
Let's write that one down. The mind fulfills goals with inexhaustible. We need to step back and think just for a moment, because one of the things that we're going to find out is that the conscious mind is like the crest of a wave, okay? And the inner self is all of the water of the ocean. And that doesn't diminish us. However, I want to put it in perspective. We're the top of the wave that is looking out and interacting with the air, seeing the land, everything. And the inner self is this huge amount of water that has tremendous power and abilities. So, trying to keep that perspective in mind, the original sentence, if I'm reading it right, says that the inner self brings about the goals. See? The inner self is what is doing all of the work.
Right, but the conscious mind sets the goals.
Right, but you know how we've been having all these coincidences and we didn't understand? We knew that it was weird, right?
Right.
Well, if you think about it, what's been going on is that this inner self under the surface is sort of like everywhere. The water would be everywhere. And you and I would be two little crests of the wave and we'd be looking out at each other, you know? And so when we have these coincidences, it would be normal because everything else underneath is aware and connected all the time. And we're just barely aware of just a little bit, see? And so when the coincidences happen, we can know that there's something deeper going on, but it's hard for our minds to know how that could have been possible. But it's possible because the deeper inner self is sort of everywhere at once and is bringing all of this about.
Well, and I guess that's why Wayne Dyer says, you'll see it when you believe it.
Very much so. That's what where we're going with this. That's the whole point of beginning to look at your beliefs. Once you change your beliefs, you have to allow yourself a little bit of time, and then it will come into your experience. Okay. Conscious mind sets the goals. The inner self brings them about using all its facilities and inexhaustible energy. So it's the inner self that is bringing about this manifestation using all of its inexhaustible energy. It's the inner self that is sustaining my body. And as hard as it is to believe, and this is the part that eventually will come to understand, is the inner self is bringing about this entire room. There's a somehow connection, and what room I see is not the same room that you see, or that you see, or that Harvey sees, or that you see. I mean, we pretty much can get that part. Even looking at light and how it bounces off, and that there's different times, it would not be possible for us to physically be seeing the same room, even if it existed separate. However, apparently, this is sort of an agreed upon appearance, shall we say. All right. Let's look at our three sentences. The inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible energy. That one is correct. The mind directs the inner self's inexhaustible energy. That is correct. The mind fulfills goals with inexhaustible energy. That skips the inner self's function.
Or you could say the mind fulfills inner goals with inexhaustible.
Or goals are manifested by the inner self.
The mind channels inexhaustible energy to fulfill goals.
Adds to. I like the first one better. Okay.
As long as we understand the goals are set by the conscious mind, the top one is very helpful.
Or conscious goals.
Inner self fulfills the mind's goals
With
inexhaustible energy.
With inexhaustible energy, the inner self
Fulfills the mind's goals. That's correct.
Inexhaustibles has a lot of syllables.
So it'd be like instead of unbelievable, it could be inexhaustible.
Or B-E-A.
Alright, what was the last one you said? With inexhaustible energy, the inner self fulfills the mind's goals. I don't know if you're supposed to start off a sentence with.
inexhaustible energy, comma.
Okay, no wait. With inexhaustible energy, the inner self fulfills the mind's, there's an apostrophe, goals. Now, one of the questions is the apostrophe before the S or after the S? Goals is a what in relation to the minds?
It's being possessed by the mind.
So does the
So
apostrophe...
it comes before the S, because we're not talking about plural mind.
Okay, so M-I-N-D apostrophe S, goals. With inexhaustible energy, comma, the inner self fulfills the mind's goals.
That'll work for me.
Or
It is a good one.
Did I?
That one's good too. Mind directs the inner self. With inexhaustible energy, the inner self fulfills the mind's goals. Inner self fulfills goals. alter yours just a little bit up here. The inner self fulfills the mind's goals with inexhaustible energy. You have 5 to choose from. The key about all this is you have to pick one that's going to be helpful in remembering what this is all about. So, the key words.
I think the inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible energies.
You put the word the.
I thought that's the one you just did.
The one I did was the inner self fulfills the mind's goals with inexhaustible.
Oh, the first one.
That was inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible.
Because it's the shortest one.
I'm throwing in with you, Maddie. I'm going to go with the first one, 7 words. I think I can remember that.
Inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible energy.
Yeah.
Inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible
'Cause
energy.
The one I came up with?
Yes, yes. Goals is going to be, it's going to be implied that the conscious mind made up goals. I think so. And I know that we're learning that the conscious mind is directing this. However, I think we know that we actually, the ego is so overbearing and overpowering that what I'm going to teach us is to lessen the ego's dominance in order to allow the inner self and the messages to come through more clearly. Okay? Alright. Are you alright, Carol? Can you go with the 7-word one that Josh came up with?
Yeah.
Alright. So now, that might have been our practice page. We're going to make another box on another page, and this is going to be the end of the
A separate page?
a separate page. This is a very important statement. On this page, up at the top, you're going to write the 7 words in capitals, and this is going to be what we need to remember. Inner self fulfills goals with inexhaustible energy.